Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here for this one, because today we are talking about protecting literally the most valuable asset you own, your own mind. AI is moving insanely fast right now, and because of that, our independent, critical thinking skills are facing a massive, unprecedented challenge. So we're going to look at exactly how to defend our cognition. Let's dive right in.
So, here's the big question. Is AI making us obsolete, or is it just making us, well, kind of lazy? Honestly, we've all been there, right? Booting up an AI to crank out an email we just didn't want to think about. But we're actually looking at a dual threat here. Sure, there's the very real anxiety about job displacement as algorithms take on more complex tasks. But on the flip side, there's a quieter and arguably more insidious threat: intellectual decline. By essentially outsourcing our thinking to machines, we really risk losing our mental edge entirely.
To tackle this, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the diagnosis, AIRD. Then, the pathology of cognitive offloading. After that, we'll cover identity decoupling, exercising cognitive flexibility, some practical critical thinking workouts you can actually do, and finally, keeping humans firmly at the helm.
All right, let's start with part one, the diagnosis, AIRD. If you're feeling a deep sense of anxiety about all this, I want to validate that for you right now. It is so real that psychiatric research actually has a new name for it: AI replacement dysfunction, or AIRD. Now, this isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill work stress. We are talking about a profound mental health tool tied directly to the fear of AI-related job loss. People are dealing with insomnia, clinical paranoia, and this really heavy sense of identity grief. I mean, if you're a highly skilled professional and you watch an AI do your complex job in literally seconds, that's not just an economic threat. It feels like the universe is telling you your capabilities are completely obsolete. And honestly, when you look at the data, that fear is totally justified. We are already tracking a 13% relative decline in hiring for entry-level AI-exposed white-collar roles. That's huge. What we're actually losing here is what's known as the junior loop. You know, that crucial entry-level phase where we humans traditionally learn our craft, where we make mistakes, and where we build deep expertise over time. Without that friction, the entire pipeline for human mastery is genuinely threatened.
Which brings us to part two. The pathology, cognitive offloading. So how exactly is this daily interaction with AI messing with our brains? Well, get ready for these numbers from a recent Oregon State study because they are staggering. When people rely heavily on AI tools, they see a 66% decline in reflective thinking and a 41% drop in critical thinking. But honestly, the scariest stat to me, a 21% decline in the perceived need to even understand concepts. Think about it. If a machine just hands you the answer instantly, you totally stop asking why that answer is right. We are literally watching our capacity for independent reasoning shrink in real time.
The core issue here really boils down to a battle between cognitive friction and cognitive offloading. Cognitive friction is that mental struggle you feel when you're wrestling with a really tough problem. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it's exactly what builds neurological connections and locks in memory. Cognitive offloading, on the other hand, is when you just delegate that heavy lifting to an AI. And when we do that constantly, we start suffering from what researchers call metacognitive errors. We get wildly overconfident. We start mistaking the AI's brilliance for our own internal intelligence. It's a lot like how we used to memorize our best friend's phone numbers, right? But now we just tap a name. Or how blindly following a GPS every single day slowly ruins your natural sense of direction.
I absolutely love this quote from cognitive psychologist Brian W. Stone, because it makes this invisible mental decline feel very visceral. He says, "The brain is a lot like a muscle. It takes genuine hard work to see gains. Without challenging that muscle, it won't grow bigger." It really is that simple. If you're constantly using AI as a cognitive crutch to skip the hard work, your critical thinking muscles are just gonna atrophy.
Okay, let's move to part three, identity decoupling.
So how do we cure that identity grief we were talking about earlier? The very first prescription is changing how you define your professional worth through something called identity decoupling. Basically, you have to move away from a task-based identity. If you define yourself simply as, "I am a coder" or "I am a copywriter," you're setting yourself up for heartbreak because those specific tasks are exactly what AI is automating right now. Instead, you've got to shift to a conceptual identity. Say, "I am an analytical problem solver." By broadening how you see yourself, your whole identity doesn't just crumble the second a machine learns how to write a specific line of code.
Psychologists actually refer to this as self-concept clarity.
Having stable, clear beliefs about who you are that have absolutely nothing to do with your economic function or your job title, it acts like an absolute superpower right now. When you decouple who you are from the tasks you do for money, your AI-induced anxiety plummets, and you become way more resilient to all these crazy disruptions happening in the market.
All right, on to part 4, exercising cognitive flexibility.
To process all this change without losing our minds, psychologists look at the cognitive flexibility inventory. To really thrive, you need to deliberately train your brain in 2 specific areas. First up is the alternative subscale. This means deliberately forcing yourself to brainstorm multiple, completely novel solutions to a single problem. It's a fantastic way to prevent rigid thinking. Second is the control subscale. This is all about reframing these massive technological shifts. Instead of seeing them as apocalyptic threats, view them as manageable challenges that you can actually steer. Actively training these mental pathways does wonders for your psychological recovery and your overall confidence.
Now, let's get into the real meat of this in Part 5, Practical Critical Thinking Workouts.
So how do we actually stop our brains from turning to mush on a day-to-day basis? Here are 3 specific mental workouts you really need to be doing to prevent cognitive atrophy. Number 1, unplugged problem solving. Block out time every single week to tackle a complex problem with 0 AI assistance. None. Force your brain to experience that necessary friction. Number 2, multi-source verification. Do not just accept an AI's output at face value. Actively cross-reference its claims to catch any algorithmic bias. It's basically strength training for your skepticism. And number 3, active debate. Get into logical reasoning and memory exercises with actual humans. Defend a position, recall facts, and do it all without looking at a screen.
Now, this isn't just an individual thing. Organizations, schools, and businesses need to step up too. We've got to emphasize active learning and teach metacognitive skills, which is really just a fancy way of saying we need to teach people how to evaluate their own thinking processes. We need to design human-AI collaboration models where the human is always the active decision maker. And crucially, workplaces need to mandate that employees reflect on and actually explain AI-generated insights before acting on them. Because let's be real, copy-pasting without reasoning is a massive accountability disaster waiting to happen.
This brings us to our final section, Part 6, keeping humans at the helm. At the end of the day, we really have to reframe our ultimate philosophy here. There's this huge divide right now in how we view the tech. A lot of folks are buying into the displacement thesis. They see AI as this autonomous competitor that's just stripping away our agency. But if we want to survive and thrive, we have to firmly plant ourselves in the human at the helm thesis. AI is not a moral agent. It doesn't have intentionality or semantic depth. It is just an incredibly advanced tool. And you, the human, are the sole intentional subject directing that tool to achieve human goals. I think Russian philosopher Nikolai Berdyaev hit the nail on the head nearly a century ago when he wrote, "Technology has always been a means, a tool, and not a goal in and of itself. The aims of life must lie in some other arena, in the field of the spirit." That is so powerful. We absolutely must elevate the human above the machine. The AI, it just provides the mechanical output. You provide the architecture of intent. Which leads us to our final provocative thought for today's explainer. Look, these machines are only going to get smarter, faster, and way more capable of doing our thinking for us. That's just a fact. So the real question is, as we build these infinitely smarter tools, what daily friction will you choose to endure to ensure your mind remains the architect? You have to deliberately choose the hard work of thinking, or you really do risk losing it. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredibly vital topic today. Keep your mind sharp, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.